And then on Turkey, sir, will Turkey face sanctions if it goes ahead with the S400 purchases?
Okay, so Turkey is an interesting case because there's another one, Jim, that I get along with very well, and he's a tough cookie, okay? Right? President Erdogan. He's tough, but I get along with him. And maybe that's a bad thing, but I think it's a really good thing because, frankly, he wanted to wipe out, he has a big problem with the Kurds, as everyone knows, and he had a 65,000-man army at the border, and he was going to wipe out the Kurds who helped us with ISIS. We took out the caliphate. We have 100% of the caliphate. And I called him and I asked him not to do it. They are, I guess, natural enemies of his or Turkey's. And he hasn't done it. They were lined up to go out and wipe out the people that we just defeated the ISIS caliphate with. And I said, you can't do that. You can't do it. And he didn't do it. So I have a relationship. But let me tell you, so he goes out. During the Obama administration, he wants to buy our Patriot missile. Right? They wouldn't sell it to him. He wants to buy, even though he's a member of NATO, and in theory he could be an ally if he respected the president, and he's got a big army, and he's, you know, they're fighters, Turkey's big fighters, and we're working on Idlib province together because he doesn't want to see 3 million people killed, and neither do I in Syria. And I mentioned that was another thing I mentioned, folks, to President Putin. I said, please, take it easy with Idlib, because, you know, they've been encircling that. I think if I didn't put out a statement 6 months ago, that would have been catastrophic. But there you have 30,000 terrorists in Idlib province. You have 3 million people. And, you know, getting terrorists is okay. But you don't want to kill 3 million people or 1 million people to get the terrorists. So anyway, so we get along great, but what happened with Turkey, and I will tell you when it's fair, when it's not fair, he wanted to buy the Patriot missile. President Obama's group said no. He kept wanting to buy it. They kept saying no, no, no. Couldn't buy it. Now he needed it for defense. So he then went to Russia, and he bought the S400, made a deal to buy it, because he couldn't get it. They wouldn't allow him to buy it. They wouldn't allow it. This administration, meaning this administration previous to mine, would not let him buy it. So he goes out, he goes to Russia, and he makes a deal for the S400. And let's assume it's not nearly as good. But he made a deal. He paid him money, a lot of money, put up a lot of money. And he bought it. As soon as he bought it, people went back to him from our country, and they said, listen, we don't want you to use that system because it's not the NATO system, et cetera, et cetera. You know all the reasons. We don't want you to use that system. Do us a favor. We'll sell you the Patriot. He said, it's too late. I already bought it. There was nothing he could do. He already bought it. In the meantime, he bought over 100 F-35s, the greatest fighter jet in the world. It's stealth. You can't see it. It's real hard to beat something when you can't see it. But he bought over 100. I think he bought 116. But he bought over 100, a lot. And he has options for more. And now he wants delivery. He's paid a tremendous amount of money up front to Lockheed, our company, our jobs, everything. And now they're saying he's using the S400 system, which isn't compatible with our system. And if you use the S400 system, Russia and other people can gain access into the genius of the F-35. But honestly, I'm all for our country, but he got treated very unfairly. He was told, you can't buy it, you can't buy it. You know, it's the old secret when you can't have something. All of a sudden, he ends up going getting something else, and then they said, first they said, we'll sell it to you, you can have it in 4 years. Then they said, we'll get it to you immediately. But he said, I can't do it. I've spent a fortune on buying another system, similar system, from Russia. The problem is he already bought the planes, and the planes aren't compatible from our standpoint, not from the standpoint of compatibility, but from our standpoint, national security-wise. So it's a mess. It's a mess. And honestly, it's not really Erdogan's fault. So now we have breaking news. Donald Trump loves Turkey.
So he
loves Turkey. Donald Trump is on the side of Turkey instead of the United. No, I'm not.
You don't
I love our country, but I have to tell you, President Erdogan, who has done, he gave me our pastor back, Pastor Brunson. Nobody else could get him back. Remember? They couldn't get him back. President Obama, he was in jail for 35 years. He was going to be in jail forever. Pastor Brunson, who was an innocent man. I called him, and after a very short period of time, Pastor Brunson was standing in the Oval Office with me, and he was back. So, you know, he's been, from my standpoint, and he's a tough guy, okay, when you talk about tough, he's tough, but I get along with him. I think he was unfairly treated. We were told you can't have it, and then after he bought another system, we said, we'll sell it to you, we'll give it to you right away, but he couldn't use it then. But by that time, he had already bought the plane. So it's a complicated deal. We're working on it. We'll see what we can do.
Can I ask you one last quick thing on China?